Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. We are the first generation to parent while balancing screens, life, and family. Each episode features insights, tips, and takeaways to help establish safe, mindful habits while living your family's healthiest digital life. I'm your host, Hilarie Wilkinson. Now, whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, this is the podcast for you. It's not often that you get to sit and chat with someone who is truly a pioneer in their field, and today I get to do that. My guest today is the OG, Dr. Hilarie Cash, someone whom I was immediately drawn to by her fabulous first name. She's been in the field of behavioral issues surrounding internet and gaming since the 1990s and is one of the masterminds behind a program called Restart Life, which is a residential program, the first of its kind in the US or Canada, that is designed explicitly for adolescents and adults who are experiencing addiction to the internet and video games, as well as other mental health problems. Restart has worked with some of the best gamers and influencers in the world. I could not be more honored to introduce to the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, Hilarie Cash.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. So, Hilarie, I love the mission of Restart, which is stated to help those in need develop a healthy, balanced relationship to digital technology. Part of the reason why I love it is because it focuses on balance. It doesn't come across as being anti-technology. And that being said, could you illustrate what does a balanced relationship to digital technology look like? We're surrounded.
Yeah, right. So we all need to use computers. There's just no escaping it. So a balanced use of it means that we are able to keep in mind what all the priorities are that we all need as human beings in order to be healthy and able to act on those and make those things priorities. So if you think in terms of a 24-hour period, we all need sleep. So you would block out an adequate amount of sleep. We all need to get our work done, whatever that work is. So we need to block that time out. We all need exercise in some form. We need to be social. We are social animals. We suffer if we're not social in some way. During time of COVID, that might mean Zoom calls with friends and family, or if we can do it in person, that's ideal. We need to really feed and nourish our bodies. We need, to take our showers and brush our teeth. We need some play in our lives. And we probably need time for reflection. All of these are things that really all humans need, ideally.
I'm almost picturing this like pie chart as you
Exactly.
block out these things. I can almost like visualize. And I must admit, it seems as I get older, the sleep part gets a bigger and bigger piece of my pie.
Which is because your body needs it.
Right.
And so it's really understanding what we need and being able to provide for ourselves what we need. And understanding that using the internet and computers for entertainment really probably needs to be at the bottom of that list of priorities.
A thin slice of pie.
A thin slice of pie. Because if that slice of pie starts growing, the way you were describing the sleep wedge growing, if that thin slice is growing, it's squeezing out these other things that we actually do need. And so that's what it means to live a healthy, balanced life, that our tech use will be there, but it will be there in moderation. Right. And all of these other things we will be prioritizing.
So Just out of curiosity, do you find that these pieces of pie, to use the visualization that I'm going
Mm-hmm.
off of,
Yeah.
are they individual? Like, I mean, can they be? I see what you mean about everybody's got their own slices, but do some people need more of, like, a bigger slice than others?
A bigger slice of any particular thing, of course, it's all individualized. Teenagers need what, 9 to 10 hours of sleep,
Yeah.
as do babies and toddlers, right?
Hmm.
So, and young children shouldn't have access to screens at all, ideally. So yes, it all is an individualized pie. But
Right.
one of the things that's so important for parents to understand is that screens are mesmerizing and they are designed to be mesmerizing. And so, because of that, they will override, even for an adult, they can override this. And for children, absolutely, they will override a child's natural urges. Children naturally, if there's no screen around to mesmerize them, children will explore their environment, will be drawn to interactions with people, will be creative in their play, will want to be outdoors in nature. All of these things children naturally want to do, and these are things children need to do to develop in a healthy, normal way. But the screens can easily interfere with that.
Certainly.
And so ideally, you'd keep your kids away from screens up until they're at least 6 years old, because those first 6 years are the years when the foundation for everything that follows is laid down. And and this means that parents have to also be very careful about their own screen use, because if a
Right.
parent is mesmerized on Facebook, or mesmerized on playing some game, and not paying attention to the child who does not have a screen, and the child wants your attention, the child needs your attention, that's not going to work either. So parents really need to just understand what children need developmentally, and understand how easy it is for screens in the hands of parents or children, caregivers or children, can actually interfere with what they need.
And overwhelm those natural urges.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's critical. So the flip side of that balanced relationship with the individual pieces of pie, the relationship with technology is going to be clearly an unbalance.
Mm-hmm.
And is there, like, in your experience, is there a recognizable tipping point at which people need to pursue help with getting managing their digital life?
That's a great question. So, the World Health Organization, which has recognized gaming disorder as an addictive disorder, says basically three things. And these are things that apply to all addiction. That first of all, the individual has lost control. They aren't in control of fill in the blank. They aren't in
Okay, so
control
that's
of their
somebody
screen
who's
use.
right. So that's somebody who's no longer maybe listening to the biological urges of needing to eat or hydrate or even use the restroom. And
Right, right. All right. So they've lost control. And they often try to regain control and can't. So they've lost control. That screen, in this case, we're talking about screens and the internet, that screens and the internet are taking priority over everything else.
okay.
And they become the top priority over everything else. And lastly, that the person continues with their screen use in spite of the negative consequences. All right. So for a teenager, the negative consequences might be they're not getting enough sleep. It might be that their schoolwork is suffering. It might be that they're constantly fighting with their parents. It might be that they're starting to steal from their parents in order to purchase what they want for their games, and so forth. And that in spite of those negative consequences, they continue with their gaming or porn use or social media use or whatever they're doing.
Right.
And so anytime any of those things are showing up, it's important to take corrective action. If any one of those things is you can recognize in yourself or someone else, it's time to take corrective action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super important points. Thank you. And when we
Yeah.
come back, we're going to get into some more of those recognizable points.
Are you looking to get your child a phone but don't know where to start? With after school practices, meetings, and hangouts, do you want to have the ease of texting but not the worries that come with internet? Good news. Healthy Screen Habits has done the legwork for you. We can take away the guesswork of what's best, and our answer is Gab Wireless. Gab Wireless created the phone that parents have all been asking for. It can text but doesn't receive or send pictures. It looks like a smartphone with a touchscreen, has talk, text, calculator, calendar, FM radio, and alarm functions, but no internet. Setup is super easy. Plug it in and start charging. Activation is free, shipping is free, and the best news is that Gab wireless phones start at under $100. Fun fact, the average teen Gab wireless user spends 80% less time on their phone than the average teen. That's time that can be spent mastering a musical instrument, developing life skills, learning to communicate face to face with empathy and connection. Or maybe it's just time to finish chores and take out the trash. It doesn't matter. At any rate, it's 80% less time that you'll be telling your kids to put your phone down. You're welcome. Now, even more good news. You can get $5 off your order of a Gab wireless phone by using the promo code HS Habits. That's HS Habits, like healthy screen habits, but shorter. You can find a link to Gab Wireless under the Tools tab on our website at www.healthyscreenhabits.org. Press and hold the tab menu and look under Products We Endorse in the drop-down menu. You're looking for Gab Wireless. G-A-B-B Wireless. Your child's first phone that's smart for them.
I'm speaking with Dr. Hilarie Cash, the co-founder and chief clinical officer of Restart, a digital addiction treatment facility located in Bellevue, Washington. She's co-authored several peer-reviewed journal articles and a workbook to be published by the International Institute of Trauma and Addiction Professionals in May 2021. We're talking about digital behavioral patterns, which have potential to become problematic over time. In talking about behaviors, let's go back just a little bit, and I'd like to ask, start by recognizing the people behind the behavior. So I kind of want to just get a little lens on that. And could you share, do you have any basic demographics or characteristics about people who come to Restart?
Well, yes, but I want to say that people struggling with their screen use it covers all demographics. All right, so there's no part of the American population
Nobody is immune,
which is escaping this, because wherever there's a screen and the internet, that you're going to find problems. Now, Restart is going to have a rarefied subgroup in the population because people have to afford coming to us.
Oh, certainly.
And it's insurance doesn't cover this sort of thing, and so it's not going to. So people have to pay out of pocket. So it means that people have to be of means in order to come to us. That said, our population tends to be therefore middle or upper middle class. It's certainly predominantly white. It's mostly men, and they tend to be very bright young men who have, in the adult program, they've all failed out of college. In the adolescent program, they are starting to fail at their middle and high school work.
They're hitting those tipping points that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Do you have openings in your program for neurodiverse clients?
We do. And about a third, I would say, are neurodiverse. They tend to be high functioning. We're
Mhm.
not set up for lower functioning folks on the autism spectrum in particular, but we have many, many clients who have traits and sometimes the full diagnosis of being on the autism spectrum. And that's
Okay.
fine. As
Yeah.
long as they can function within the program we've designed, it works great for them.
Wonderful. Wonderful. You talk about some of the primary skills or coping measures that are taught within your program?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Um, so when people come here, they are usually depressed and anxious. Often that's because they have lost their whatever confidence they had in themselves. Socially, they have been so isolated that they have lost whatever confidence they had, and often they just have not developed good social skills. So teaching them good social skills is very, very important. They have
Mm.
also, as addicts, uh, people who have used escapism as a coping for difficult emotions.
So they've kind
And
of self-isolated.
they've self-isolated, but also they just have distracted themselves rather than really dealing with, let's say they're angry about something, rather than learning the skills to effectively deal with their anger, deal with conflict. They have just avoided it, escaped into gaming or whatever they do online. And in that way, they kind of manage their emotions, but it's not healthy management. So we teach emotion regulation skills. We
Okay.
do that in a variety of ways that includes mindfulness training. We teach communication skills, social skills, emotion regulation skills, executive functioning skills. They, no matter who they are, most of them, uh, the majority for sure, don't have well developed executive functioning skills.
Can you define what those are? What are
Yeah,
executive
sure.
functioning skills?
They are the skills of planning, organizing, um, control, self control, like holding back. Let's say I feel the urge to game, but I can stop myself because I can think about it. I can think rationally and think that's really not a good idea. I'm not going to do it, even though I feel the urge to do it. That's an executive functioning
So
skill.
delayed gratification would
Mm-hmm.
fall into that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Thinking ahead, planning ahead, those are very typical executive functioning skills. So all addicts tend to have poor um, ability to delay gratification.
Mhm.
Addiction is all about immediate gratification. So we work a lot on that, those skills. And then we also just are working on work ethic, which is related to that, the ability to just get something done, even though you're not having fun at it, but it's
Sure.
important to do. It's a responsibility. Uh, and so we work on that, and that's trying to develop healthy habits. We teach them how to cook if they don't know how to cook, how to do their laundry if
I
they
was
don't know
just
how to do their laundry,
I
and
was
so
just going
forth.
to ask, where do chores fit in with all of this? Kind of bringing it home into our own homes and our
Yeah,
listeners' homes. Is that,
yeah,
would you say that it's kind of that community building, that
yeah.
team building of everyone contributing and raising competence levels of skill building, which then leads to confidence? So.
Absolutely, because each new skill they learn builds their confidence.
Right. And
Absolutely.
that's the path through kind of to
Exactly.
gain that path through that self-isolation and hopefully make some connections.
And when they finish in our intensive program, which is 3 months long, they, by the time they finish that program or are nearing the end of that, they have developed a plan. We call it the Life Balance Plan. And it's really a blueprint for how they're going to reconnect with technology going forward. And they, the majority of them go into our transition program. And in our transition program, they start using computers in our computer lab. And they are now, and again, they're learning new habits, right? The habit of using a computer as a tool rather than a source of entertainment, rather than a source of escapism from uncomfortable feelings. And so they're getting jobs, part-time jobs. So they're learning all the skills around that. You know, how do you create a resume? How do you go into an interview?
Right.
You know, how developing the habit of getting up on time and going to bed on time, and, you know, things like that.
Right. So knowing that that's kind of the skill building that you do in treatment, let's spend some time talking a little bit about preventative measures at home.
Yes,
So
let's
the
do.
goal is, I always say that, you know, the goal is obsolescence within this field, right?
That's right.
That's
right.
I think you and I share that goal.
Yes.
So internationally, I understand that Korea is far ahead of the game for with screening for internet addiction happening as early as age 10 in centers for recovery sponsored by the government around the country. So
Right.
I speak with many parents, and of course our goal is never to have a tech addicted child. So I'm kind of am asking you, like, how do we avoid this? What are antidotes to too much time online? I think the skill building with you talked about, like we talked about the chores, the executive function, and I'm kind of interested, what I'm gearing this towards selfishly is I know that Restart is centered in a very beautiful place. And I'm wondering, what part does nature play
An important
in?
role.
Okay. Can you talk
Yes.
about that a little bit, as well as as well as antidotes to too much time online? I
Mhm.
was a kind of a mishmash question there. Sorry.
um, there's lots of research about how, as animals and part of nature, we thrive with contact when we have contact with nature. We need contact with nature, and we suffer when we live in the urban jungle without any contact with nature. We do not thrive if we spend all of our lives indoors, even if there's wonderful natural opportunities outside. You know, children these days are spending, not just because of COVID, pre-COVID, spending their time indoors rather than outdoors. So outdoors provides a great opportunity not just to relax. There's good evidence that it improves attention span, it lowers stress, it helps people cope. Contact with nature helps people cope. And so when they come to the adult program, they're first in a setting that's called the ranch, where they have to take care of animals, and it's surrounded by trees, and they're in nature there. And then when they move on to pathways, they're in another setting where it's like a park full of beautiful trees and paths through those trees. And
It almost sounds like summer camp.
exactly. And when the kids come to Serenity Mountain, it is on a bluff. It overlooks the Cascades. It's 32 beautiful acres of land with an island and a river and paths that are, it's just
It
completely
sounds
gorgeous.
magical.
It is.
Yes.
And so their contact with nature is helping keep them calm, helping them, uh, teaching them to go for a walk. When they're upset, go for a walk, get out into nature.
Teaching them some of those coping skills
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than that numbing of
Mm-hmm.
grabbing the device.
Exactly.
Great. Can you share some of the recovery rates of your program?
Yes. The adolescent program is the only one where I've done a little bit of pretty informal, but nonetheless, I think useful research, where I sent out to parents and I heard back from half of them. I sent out to parents just 4 questions, and their kids had to have been out of the program for at least 4 months. And I asked, how was on a scale of 0 to 5, how was your kids' internet behavior before restart, and how is it now? And then how was your kids' overall global functioning before restart, and how is it now? And the before restart questions all got 0, and the after restart got a 4.1 and a 4.2.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. That's really good. So I think we're probably, if we were doing that long-term outcome research with our adults, we'd probably find, I hope we would find similar results. What we do know is that about 70% go into the transition program from the intensive, and we know that about 75% or 65% maybe graduate out of that transition program with our approval. In other words, they've succeeded.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they haven't stumbled. It doesn't mean they
Sure.
haven't had relapses or lapses.
We're all on a
But
journey.
we're all on a journey, and they have succeeded in that journey. And if they come into the transition programs, it means they're with us usually for about a year, anywhere from 9 months to a year.
Wow.
And so I think those who go into the transition program do tend to be very successful long term.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. When we come back after this break, I'm going to ask you for one healthy screen habit. Do you live with a teen who is tech savvy? Maybe a digital native who's the only one who can figure out how to get the playlist going in the car? Each Tuesday on the Healthy Screen Habits Instagram and Facebook pages, we spotlight Teen Tip Tuesday. These are features submitted by teens that provide helpful hacks for productivity, managing social media, and promoting intentional tech use. If you know a teen who has a helpful screen tip, we want to hear from them. Have them contact us at healthyscreenhabits.org and put Teen Tip in the subject line. We're back. I'm talking with Hilarie Cash, guru and one of the nation's leading clinical experts in the growing field of internet and gaming disorders. On every episode of the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, I ask for one healthy screen habit that our listeners can put into practice in their own home. Do you have one?
Yes, there are a bunch, of course, but
Of
you've
course.
asked me just for one. So I think one that is probably easier than many to institute would be carving out kind of sacred places in the home and times in the home where there will be no screens. So I recommend no screens of any sort, including television screens, in bedrooms. I recommend no screens at the dinner table. Those would just be some examples. I think if everyone in the family can get used to having those times and places without screens, they might balk at it at first, but once they get into the habit of it, I think they will all appreciate it.
I agree. And if any of our listeners are looking to start that journey, I'm just going to reference on our website, we have a family tech plan, which is a free downloadable tool, and it serves as a conversation springboard to start some of these practices. And that is one of them. So I am feeling very proud of us that we share the same recommendation that you do. Okay, if you feel like you would like to take a closer look at Restart or maybe have a peek at Dr. Hilarie Cash's new workbook, Facing Internet Technology and Gaming Addiction, A Gentle Path to Beginning Recovery from Internet and Video Game Addiction, please check out this episode's show notes by going to healthyscreenhabits.org, click on the podcast button, and find episode 11. Hilarie, thank you so much for being here today.
It has been my absolute pleasure.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.